Hello! Welcome back to Stellaris Central, even though it's been slightly taken over recently by Surviving Mars. Regardless, I wanted to have a discussion with you today regarding one of the new systems within the game that, on one hand, irks me a little bit, but on the other hand has amazing potential. This is, of course, the Hyperlanes system, and what we could actually maybe expect with them, as well as the small tweaks from my side, which I feel would make the game a lot more interesting from a tactical point of view, but also from a potential and, dare I say it, trading point of view. Because I wanted to talk about the magnificence that is the star lanes, the jump gates, and on top of that, and here we go and take a look at them, the magnificence of the Hyperlane Registar. Now, the Hyperlane Registar is a fascinating little upgrade that you can add to your stations. It basically decreases the amount of charge time that an allied ship needs in order to get through the system, as well as it reduces the jump cooldown that it needs to get through the system. It also means that anybody in the system who is being attacked by somebody else can disengage from that combat a lot easier. Now, personally, the way the Hyperlane Registar is set up, I actually disagree with it. And hear me out here. So what is the problem? One of the main issues that we have in the game as of right now, especially with empires of this size. This is a Roman Empire from one of my playthroughs. Don't you worry, this is not the direction we're going in. This is just me playing a little bit forward in order to illustrate my point. So these are not spoilers, just be aware of that. So we have our fleets that are spread out through the entire game. We got our southern border, our northern border, etc. However, the speed in these systems is not faster or slower, even though the amount of time it takes to get to the other side of the actual space that you occupy, it's still pretty long. The Hyperlane Registar lowers this amount by changing the amount of time it takes for you to jump. However, it still takes forever, especially considering every single ship needs to traverse an entire system in order to get to the next jump point and then move on from there. Now, this is slightly offset by the improved thrusters that some ships have and basically allowing for faster sublight speeds. However, I would actually change the Hyperlane Registar and change its bonuses a little bit. So right now, the Hyperlane Registar, what it does is, like I mentioned, it reduces the cooldown and charge time on jumps, as well as changing the combat disengagement challenge. I would actually change this altogether. I would remove the combat disengagement chance and change that to a sublight speed bonus of a certain amount, basically allowing you to build highways through your space that can be illustrated in any way you want. Say you have this system and this system, they both have Hyperlane Registars, therefore this line becomes thicker, say it becomes a highway, and it allows you to plan your main roads through your systems. Now, obviously, you have your backwaters, but you kind of want to make sure that your ships get to places fast enough to take care of things. Now, in the past, you had wormhole drive or warp drive. You can get to places really quickly. Now, jump drive obviously has also been changed, so it's not really as effective anymore. Now, this has now been offset by the jump gates, but the jump gates themselves have a pretty big problem. They are all on the same network. That basically means is if you build a jump gate for 20,000 minerals, may I add, first you need to put down the megastructure platform, and then you still need to pay the additional 12,000, at least if you don't have any of the megastructure upgrades, in order to physically build the station to get access to the network. The portal network, so to speak. Or should, dare I say, webway. The thing is that anybody around you can use this portal network. Anybody can use it. Like, these guys over here, they've been using mine. These guys have been using it. These guys have been using it. Sure, okay, my allies, or at least people that are neutral to me, around me, the ones that I haven't closed my borders to, they can use my gates. The gates I paid for. The gates that I pay infrastructure stuff on. So here's my suggestion. In combination with using the Hyperlane Registrar in order to speed things up, have the ability to add a policy modifier, or maybe an edict modifier, or maybe even a trade agreement modifier, where your allies can get access to your gates and your hyperlanes, at least the sped up ones, for free. However, and here's the kicker, at the addition of toll roads. They're my gates. I'm the one who built them. I should be able to say who uses them in my space for whatever price they want. If they want to use it and they want to spend the money on it, sure. Does this create a little bit of a micromanagement hell? Yes. But does that mean that you become a potential dominant power when it comes to logistics within the galaxy? Hell, you could be an empire in the middle of a whole bunch of other ones and be technologically advanced by playing tall, which arguably is not really practical right now, but building gates, or at least talking to the empires around you and allowing to build gates in their territory, for instance, and then charge money to use them. Because in the end, they're using them, and I'm not getting anything out of that. All I get is to be quicker around my empire. But still, this creates a very interesting location as well. Going quickly back to the Hyperlane Registrar idea, if things speed up between stations, at least the spaces speed up, that means that you can create fast trade networks, which means that you've effectively A, created a high road, or a highway, or B, a trade route. So where do we get from there? Interplanetary and interspatial and intergalactic trading, even. And that makes the game even more interesting, because right now you have the opportunity to play as what basically boils down to a warrior race, a peaceful race, and what effectively are spiritualists, and everything in between. There is no mercantile style of gameplay in there. You cannot be a high-tech empire focused on trade and resources. You need to take tributaries in order to get more resources from other empires. So, with the 2.0 update, the changes to hyperdrive, as well as what I just suggested, opens the door to so many interesting things in terms of gameplay. Which kind of makes me think, is this all planned? Is this what Paradox is wanting to do? Is this a direction they're going in? Curious. If you want to comment on this, sure, go right ahead. Down in the comments, I'm looking for feedback on this. Last time we did something like this was the addition of the Ascension perks to the base game. It ended up happening in the end, which is something that I was pretty excited about, to say the least. But still, is this something that you would want to see within the context of the game? Let's have a discussion about this. If you disliked this video, give it a dislike. If you liked it, give it a big gold upvote on that one, because I am all for this. Because more interesting ways to play is definitely up on my alley. And in addition, being able to build megastructures once again in my crippled economy during 2.0 would be great. Let's put it that way. And yeah, that's currently not particularly practical. We're going to wrap up this discussion here. I hope that you got something out of it, and that maybe it sparked your ideas on where you would like to take this Hyperlane concept, as well as maybe some of your ideas that you've been sitting on and you want to share with the rest of the community. We're going to wrap it up here. If you're new, feel free to subscribe. We've got more of these ideas floating around, as well as Let's Plays, as significant amount of mechanics of videos floating around, so feel free to pick up on that one. But yeah, the combination of Hyperlane Registrars changing, toll roads, and potentially the addition of intergalactic trade routes would make things so much more interesting, especially with the pirates that could raid it. Who knows? And even the raiding causes belly, for that matter.